Welcome to FRC Media News for Thursday, September 1st, 2016. I'm Keith Tebow. On this week's show, we'll provide details on the upcoming Fuel Assistance Program. We'll talk about activities in connection with Mayor Correa's Overdose Awareness Week events. And we welcome Fall River School students back to school as they begin next week. But let's discuss the headlines of the week. We're bringing in Will Richmond, the digital news editor of the Fall River Herald News, to join us today. Hey, Will, how are you?
I'm good, Keith. How's it going?
Good. Been a couple of weeks since we've been together. It's good to be back on both sides
indeed.
here. A couple of the items that we're teasing in our news, I want to talk a little bit about with you today. Let's start with last night. There was a vigil in downtown Fall River, ended at also at St. Anne's Church in the south end of Fall River. The Fall River Overdose Awareness Vigil. In commemoration of over 50 people who perished this year, at least 50 plus people that we know about perished this year due to an overdose. And this was a whole part of Mayor Correa's to bring awareness to the opioid addiction problem here in Fall River. Talk a little bit more about last night's event, and if you can maybe shed some light. I don't know if you were there. I know one of your reporters was there, and photographer, maybe just the impact of that type of an event from yesterday.
Yeah, well, certainly, the vigil brought a lot of people together in one place outside a government center and then down to the church. There were certainly the visual images to remind people who were in the area about those who have been lost. A purple flag was placed in the planters around government center, each flag representing a person lost to an overdose, recently. So certainly there were a lot of sad stories going around. The vigil actually capped off an afternoon's worth of events related to Overdose Awareness Week. Earlier in the day, groups went out and went door to door to provide information to those that are known addicts, to try to provide them with information on the resources available in the city. So, it was a day that hopefully had an impact both on those that are using drugs and addicted to opioids and need help, and while also providing some comfort from the families and those that have been victimized by what's been called an epidemic, really, in this state, and give them support through the vigil last night.
Yeah, it's also a big reality check. Just personally, fortunately, no one in my family has been stricken by drug abuse in any way, shape, or form. And when we hear something, a vigil like this, just to bring awareness to the problem, I know personally we feel thankful for having our families healthy and not addicted. But it's also a wake-up call for us to make sure that we all need to keep in mind that this is an issue not only in Fall River but across the country. And these type of events, even though they are solemn, they also serve a purpose to keep us all informed about the intensity of the issue that we see across the country. All right, moving on. School starts next week, and hard to believe, some schools already started in the region. Fall River schools start next week, as do classes here at Bristol Community College. And you had an article in the online version of the paper today which mentions that the city of Fall River is receiving some funds to be able to keep its police resource officers in the schools this year. Tell us about that.
Right. Well, these are funds that the city has already in their possession, but unfortunately the grant was set to expire today on September 1st. So the city was able to receive an extension to expend the rest of those funds. The money is used to pay for the SROs in the 10 SROs in the various schools throughout the district. So this will help to ensure that those officers are in place for the start of the school year and provide some funding going forward, potentially until either the grant can be renewed or another funding source can be determined. So
the city does have enough money to implement these school resource officers for this school year, correct?
Yes, this money was a grant that the city had already received, but the funding was set to expire. They were originally, by the terms of the grant, the funding was to be used up by September 1st. I believe it was about they had about $70,000 left in the grant.
Right.
And they received an extension to allow the district to continue to use it going forward to keep those officers in place.
All right, so we'll follow up on that, and I'm sure we'll hear a lot from the paper and FRC Media News as well. We'll have a story a little bit later on about the start of school next week, and it all starts over again. Fall is here, and then before you know, we'll be talking about snow. But let's not rush it quite yet.
No,
One
not
other
yet.
thing I want to bring up was the incident nearby Tiverton earlier this week. That crane which toppled over, and it was really a dangerous situation for those workers in there. Herald News covered it extensively. I guess the good thing is no one was injured, and I guess even the bridge escaped any major damage.
Yeah, and minor injuries from the two men that were on the crane. My understanding was they were treated and released from hospitals, so good news there. The bridge suffered very minor damage that they consider mostly cosmetic, so that will be a fairly easy fix. So that there's good news on that end. But my understanding is that OSHA has opened up an investigation to see what has happened, and at least in the case of Rhode Island, the Bridge and Turnpike Authority there has suspended the use of those types of cranes that hang over and kind of loop around the bridge sides like that for the time being until more is determined as to what happened. So mostly good news has come out of what could have been a very scary
Right.
situation.
And I know locally that day, people who say work in Fall River, who live in Tiverton, may have had a tough time, Tiverton or in Portsmouth, that area may have had a tough time getting getting back home to Aquidneck Island. And it was interesting. I was actually driving. I live just north of Providence, and I was noticing exit 2, which is Route 136, which is another way to get to Aquidneck Island from the other side. That exit was backed up at least a mile and a half for people trying to get on to get to Aquidneck Island from that side of the area, and not knowing ahead of time that they couldn't cut through Fall River and over the Saconnet River Bridge. So that was interesting to see that long line of traffic looking to get off exit 2 eastbound off 195. So we're glad that everyone made it out with only minor injuries, and again, we'll follow that along, as you will as well, as to the investigation. One last thing I want to bring up, Will, is actually weather related. We've had a great summer here in the South Coast and in Fall River, but there's a potential that we may get some remnants of Tropical Storm Hermine later on this weekend. I'm not a meteorologist. I don't think you are by trade, but I know there was something you guys posted today online about the fact that we may get some heavy winds and some heavy rain from this storm.
Yeah, there's certainly, as is generally the case with these types of storms, but the National Weather Service is saying to kind of keep an eye on it for people in this area at this point. Very early next week, hopefully it won't affect Labor Day holiday parties too much or anything. But yeah, there is the potential, depending on the track it takes, that we could feel the effects of it. So it will definitely be something to keep an eye on as the weekend goes along.
Right. It's funny how these weather forecasting is really more accurate than it's ever been. But when it comes to these hurricanes and tropical storms, sometimes they just take a different track in the last minute, and so you have to keep up on that. So we're inviting all of you who are watching to keep your eye in the sky over the next few days, and also check the local weather forecast as we get through the Labor Day weekend. All right, Will, what's coming up in the paper over the next few days?
Well, this weekend we're going to take a look back at the Coughlin School, which may soon be sold finally. There's been a lot of efforts to revitalize that school through different uses. So we take a look back at some of those attempts. We'll hopefully be updating the efforts of, I don't know if you've seen this story, but an Easton man is going to be attempting to ride a pumpkin from Dighton to Fall River tomorrow on Saturday. Carved out a 1,200-pound pumpkin, and he's hoping to set a world Guinness record on this. So hopefully if he makes it, we'll have that story for you Saturday online and in Sunday's paper. And real quick as well, I'd also just like to say a thanks and a goodbye to some of our colleagues here at the Herald News. Our education reporter, Mike Gagney, is leaving today. Thursday is actually his last day here as he heads off to another newspaper in Connecticut. And last week, our editorial writer and opinion page editor, Aaron Frechette, and one of our page designers, Dave Casey, left as well. So got some faces have said goodbye, and we would certainly like to extend our best wishes to them and wish them luck in the future.
Absolutely. Best of luck to, I know Aaron and Mike for their coverage of things around here at BCC. I need to go back to the pumpkin ride, though. I can't. I should have interrupted you there. Is this person putting wheels on the pumpkin or just going to be rolling in the pumpkin?
I'm sorry. I should have been a little clearer.
Okay.
They're actually he's attempting to paddle down the Taunton River.
Oh, okay. So I'm thinking, how is that person going to get to
Yes.
wheels on the pumpkin? Is he going to be inside like an inner tube and just roll all the way?
No, he has acquired the winning pumpkin from the contest at the Marshfield Fair, which wrapped up last week, and is going to be paddling down the river in that. So.
Got it. Floating pumpkin. All right.
Floating pumpkin.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Have a good weekend, Keith.
We're going to be continuing our conversation with members of the Herald News in just a few moments. We're going to be talking sports with Herald News sports reporter Greg Sullivan as we preview the fall season coming up right after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot job list from the Fall River Career Center. Care Coordinator for Elder Services. Fallon Healthcare of Fall River is looking for a care coordinator to provide clinical documentation and support for seniors and individuals with complex health needs. The care coordinator works closely with the nurse case manager. Job number 779-3380. Administrative assistant to the general manager at the Amazon Fulfillment Center. Looking for a highly organized, self-motivated administrative assistant to support the general manager and fulfillment center operations team at the Amazon Fulfillment Center. Must have excellent communication skills and manage multiple tasks and assignments. Job number 780-4226. Cook. Stepping Stone Incorporated in Fall River is looking for a full-time cook to prepare and cook daily meals for working clients. Previous cooking experience preferred. Job number 780-4078. Engineering Technician. A medical device company located in Fall River is looking for an engineering technician to assist the engineering team to perform data analysis of packaging operations. Job number 779-8818. Bank Teller. A full-time bank teller with excellent customer service skills is needed at Santander Bank in Fall River. Job number 781-3405. Veterinarian Assistant Technician. Sylvan Animal Clinic, located in Fall River, is looking for an experienced veterinarian assistant technician to join their team. Must have outgoing personality, good communication, and customer service skills to assist in exam rooms and surgery. Job number 779-3706. For more information on these or other positions, visit FRCMediaNews.org or call the Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. With the start of the new school year means the start of the interscholastic athletic season here locally, and we're going to talk sports for the next few minutes. I'm joined by a guest who's been with us before. He's a sports reporter for the Herald News, Greg Sullivan. Greg, thanks for joining me again. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Keith. Thanks for having me back. And I know I was here in March and I was just plain boring, so I appreciate getting another shot at it.
Always. You're always welcome here, Greg. Let's get started. Fall, of course, football season. Even though we're recording this, in August, it's still a little warm outside. Let's talk a little bit about some of the local football teams, mainly here in Fall River. Let's start with Durfee High School. What do their prospects look like for 2016?
Interesting at least, as you may have read, my colleague Mike Thomas already did a story. Chayton Nera, who was a very good wide receiver over at Bishop Conley, transferred to Durfee.
Right.
Durfee already has a very good wide receiver in Nick Salmon. So now you're left wondering, in high school, you don't see a lot of pass-oriented teams, but if you've got two all-star caliber kids out there, do you not use them or do you go to them? So it's interesting to see what their offense will bring to the table.
Their quarterback situation, do they have someone who can throw the ball to these guys? Or?
I think that remains to be seen. The Taylor Brown said they are while they're not very experienced, he says it's an unusually athletic team. So if we can mix in some decent line play, may be interesting. At least it's, when a coach comes out and is willing to admit they're very athletic, it makes me interested anyway.
Are they still expected to, traditionally Durfee High School football has not been in the upper echelon of the division that they play with Brockton and New Bedford. Are they still looked at being in the lower tier there, or are they thinking to make some moves?
I'd say until they prove it, and
Right.
Until the defense proves itself. So even if you've got a good offense that's putting up 25 a game, if the other team's putting up 40, you're in trouble. So, remains to be seen. Do they have the linemen? Football, even for all the skill position, you better have some decent line player or you're in big trouble.
Right, even on this level.
Yes.
Right? We hear it, of course, in the college and the pro level, but even on the high school level, if you can't protect and can't tackle on the defense,
Trouble.
it's totally different. All right, let's move up the street, across the street to Bishop Connolly. How do the Cougars look this year?
Well, we start off, they lost the good wide receiver, but they have a fair
Right.
amount of kids back. A new coach, Ned Scaduto, who actually took Southeastern Regional to a Super Bowl a few years ago. He was an assistant at Diamond for a bunch of years. And he still has some good kids back. I believe Cameron Reese is among them. Their quarterback is Alex Kafori, who's a pretty good athlete. And he said, Conley's got to the point now where they're expected to be anywhere from decent to good to very good.
Right.
So their program has established that. So I'd say a threat in the Mayflower League.
There you go. And of course, Diamond, the Bengals, how do they look?
Well, our old friend Steve Winoski is now, even though he was already doing a lot, he is now the head coach again, as he was at Durfee. And they've got a quarterback, Javier Pessoa, I believe, is back. He's a good athlete. That is Ashton Bagan and a kid named DJ Machado, who is really quick. He was a very good sprinter in the spring. So if I had to guess, I would say Diamond above average.
So of the three teams, Durfee, Connolly, and Diamond, you think Connolly has the potential to make a run in playoffs in postseason, or?
I'm going to lean slightly toward Diamond.
Diamond, okay.
Not based on a whole lot, and that's just to annoy Steve Winoski, but I'm going to lean on them a little bit.
Put a little pressure on Steve. It's good for him, right?
The Wizard of Warsaw, he's known as.
So we'll have to see how that plays out. We'll get you back in later on in the fall to see how these teams are making out. But the other thing we want to bring up is, there are, of course, other sports at the high school level. You've got the boys and girls soccer. You've got field hockey. You've got girls volleyball. So there's a lot happening here in Southeastern Mass. Any glimmers that you can share on some of those other sports that people may want to look at least maybe historically with these teams?
You know who usually gets into the playoff and does some good things is Diamond girls soccer.
Yeah.
And so, if I had to just kind of pick one out of the hat, I would say that. An interesting story is Durfee field hockey, which has gone from really, really struggling to this slow but encouraging progression. So who knows, they, maybe get back to 500 or something. They've just kept getting better, and you're seeing more enthusiasm, and I hope the numbers are good again this year.
Good thing about this time of year is we look forward to the sports season. Bad time of the year is summer's over, and it's going to get cold. Those last few football games, Thanksgiving can be kind of cold around here, but it's always good to get a preview of fall sports. And Greg, good job, and we'll get you back sometime later on this fall. I appreciate the time.
Do we have another 15 seconds?
Sure, 15 seconds. Yes.
As you know, our beloved Mr. Fuji.
Yes, we talked about that
pro
before we
wrestler
got
died.
Oh no,
And
this is not going to make too much of a mess. Sorry, just a little bit.
I hope you're not.
Just don't throw it in my
any
face.
All right, we'll miss you.
Yeah, we'll do it that way.
Salt to the eye.
Oh
There you
no,
go.
there it is. In honor of Mr. Fuji.
My man Fuji.
Greg, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're not celiac, are you?
No,
All
we're
right.
not. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. Forever Paws has a lot of rabbits right now. Meet Betty. She's about 2 years old. She came from a neglect case. They all need a little work, but some of them just need a little patience from you, and then they'd be fine. A lot of them are not litter box trained, but they seem to be learning very quickly on how to use things that we normally use in cages that they haven't been accustomed to.
This is Callie. He's an 11-month-old Basset Hound mix. He's very playful and full of energy. And he loves to play. He plays with all of his toys all by himself. And he's very sweet.
Welcome back. Starting today, Fall River residents in need of fuel assistance this winter can apply for benefits through the city's anti-poverty agency, Citizens for Citizens. Program Director Garth Patterson reminds residents that the guidelines to receive assistance when the program kicks off November 1st are extremely liberal.
Well, the income guidelines for, we'll say, if a single person applies, and a lot of our elderly clients, a lot of them are widows, widowers, so a single person making up to $34,000 would be eligible for our program. A family of two would be $44,000, going up to a family of four, $65,000, family of five, $75,000. So as Liz had stated before, it is very liberal. I think a lot of times people, there's a stigma attached to people applying for programs, assistance programs, and when we go on the radio or TV like we're doing now, and we thank you very much because it is very important to get the message out to people. We want people to come in. You make $65,000, you're a working family. It's a struggle. It's 60% of the median state income guidelines. That's what that figure is from. And, these, not only would we be helping, say, if you're deliverable fuel, such as, oil, kerosene, wood pellets, your secondary heating source or your electric gets a 25% discount. So then that'd be like for Liberty Utilities for gas, Engrid, Eversource for electricity, and that comes out to a significant savings.
CFC Assistant Director Elizabeth Barrowby says that although oil prices are currently low, clients could not be reimbursed if they choose to fill their tanks now.
The price could be $1 today, and we can't get a client oil and say, oh, let's just, put some oil in the tank, it's affordable now. If a client actually bought it now, we can't reimburse them. So the closer to November 1st, what's going on in the economy, that's what it's all about.
So November 1st is when the clients start receiving the money?
That's when the benefits actually do begin. So we pay for usage if it's a utility beginning November 1st, and any delivery for wood, oil, propane, or kerosene has to be November 1st. If it's October 31st, it can't be paid for by fuel assistance.
For more information about the Fuel Assistance Program, contact Citizens for Citizens at 508-679-0041. We've come to the end of Mayor Correa's Drug Overdose Awareness Week, which highlighted educational events focused on the dangers of illicit drug use. At a news conference that kicked off the event this week, Kevin Doyle, director of the nonprofit group River to Recovery, urged addicts to seek help just like he did.
I've been clean and sober for 32 years. I'm also a licensed drug and alcohol counselor. I worked in the field and at many of the local treatment centers. I'm the director of River to Recovery. We're a non-profit organization. We started about 20 months ago. Presently, we have approximately 20 self-help meetings. Some of them are private, not for the public, for certain groups that don't want to keep their anonymity, but we are starting to have some great results with our residents in Fall River. We have several recovery coaches that have been trained and certified, and they're there every morning from 9 to about 11, and our goal is to be open Thursday to Sunday, probably 16 hours a day. Right now, we're probably open about 8 hours of them days. We have self-help meetings, we have recreation. What we're really trying to do is fill in the gaps for the people who are like waiting to get into treatment that have no support prior to that. And maybe they could come meet with us and we can support them to get to that level of treatment. They may be getting out of treatment and they need support. They may be waiting for a bed somewhere or further, just finding their way through the maze of recovery. We're also trying to be available for family members. We're going to have some family groups starting in the very near future, including ACOA. But as I had said, we do have right now 20 meetings happening every week.
Under the tutelage of new school superintendent Dr. Matthew Malone, teachers and administrators in the Fall River school system are gearing up for the start of another school year next week. The Tansy Elementary School has a new principal, Mr. Charles Audette. He gave FRC Media News a look at one of his goals for the upcoming school year.
One endeavor that we're taking on is our school motto. Our new school motto this year is going to be, I will take care of you. And that's really what we're going to live and breathe this year. We are about taking care of each other as adults, also taking care of our students, but then also building the capacity in our students to take care of each other. So we'll be on our journey this year of I will take care of you here at Tansy.
And that includes all the stakeholders, the parents, the community, and the children?
Absolutely. I believe in bringing everyone together. The job of principal is not something that can be done in isolation, but this is a team effort. In Fall River, we're really, the focus this year is pit crews. So we're building pit crews across the district.
And can you explain what that is?
Sure, yeah, pit crew teamwork. So working together as a group, as a community. So leadership, school leadership isn't something that can be done in isolation. So we're looking for a collaborative culture here at Tansy.
In addition, third grade math and science teacher Ms. Rachel Noguera assures parents that they can get help to assist their children to complete the new math homework assignments.
Here at Tansy, we provide parent academies where parents are invited to come in and learn about the new style of math and the way it's being instructed to their children these days. I provide instruction to the parents as well as take-home activities that they can do. There are also great websites that they can go on. One's called learnzillion.com, and that actually gives you a step-to-step tutorial on the different types of math.
And again, Fall River Public Schools open right after Labor Day, Tuesday, September 6th. That's it for this edition of FRC Media News. You can watch FRC Media News Thursday and Friday at 6 p.m., but you can follow us online 24/7 at our website, frcmedianews.org. For all of us at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Thursday.